all you archaeologists, I'm the John Struct. I'm having a Final Fantasy XIV Defenders of Eorzea adventure. We're still in Realm Reborn. But, you know, I'm getting there. If I push myself today, it's Sunday now. I think the time would extend a little bit into Monday, but, like, I don't know if it'll be there when I get home from work. But, yeah, maybe we'll be able to get to Heavensward. That'd be really nice. I can get there without paying. I mean, I should be able to do Heavensward without paying as well. But that's obviously, I'm never going to have enough time for that. They'll never... Oh, hello, well-spoken Mandler. Oh, yes. Since there's somebody here, I can also say, you already probably know, this is a part of my ambition, right? To play through all the Final Fantasy games. My ambition of completing all the Final Fantasy games, even the weird side games that probably don't count, apart from, like, the 11th one, possibly Crystal Chronicles. Pretty sure some of these games would be impossible or be a headache to stream. I'll see how I feel about them when I get to those particular games, I guess. Also, that's no problem. Crystal Chronicles is a game for like more than one person, and it's really slow with just the one of you. I'll see how I feel. Like, now the only reason why, also yes, it's fine. It's cool that you've not been here. I did watch the first episode of Dead India. Because it was, you know, it was on the YouTube. I enjoyed. I mean, I'd watch it all. I'm just reluctant to just watch it without actually supporting it. What am I doing? And I'm not ready to have a Netflix account right now. Oh yes, we're doing quests. We're doing literally that quest there. Oh, I would have been where I was supposed to be, and then I walked away. I have a tiny dog. No, I've got you again. I do love the dust bunny, though. And we're both bunnies, and that's kind of cool. But I did just buy a bunch of new pets. I want one of the new ones. Give me one of the new ones. Yeah, my bro! Or Marble, whatever. I did. I'll see the rest eventually. Guy definitely looks like he should be called the Liberator. So yes, as you may have seen the message, I'm playing this because it's a free weekend, and I'm like, I want to get as much free time out of this game as I can, so I've jumped ahead for specifically this game. Where am I going? I swear I was going a particular direction. I was going west, and somehow I ended up going east. Sorry, I've just got up. And I'm a little confused. So one of my favorite gimmicks from this particular game. So it uses the Final Fantasy 1 gimmick where you pick a class at the start of the game, and halfway through the game, that class upgrades. So a warrior becomes a paladin in this game, and a thief becomes a ninja, and a thaumaturge becomes a black mage. I'm not sure how much sense some of these make. But what I am, or what I was, is a bard. A bard... No, sorry. Oh, I've ruined it now. What I was an archer. And what an archer turns into... Oh, you'll never guess. It's a bard. And the game's justification for this is... Well, they both use strings, don't they? And so... The ultimate... weapon is simultaneously a musical instrument and a crossbow, because you know, and I sing songs now, and the songs are buffs, and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. That's very fantastical reasoning. I also enjoy very much that it's called the Artemis gear. Oh no, I don't want to update the gear set. I want to wear the best stuff. It's called the Artemis gear, and you're like, oh, because. Does Artemis exist? Do they have Greek mythology? They have a lot of Greek words. I mean, I fought Phlegathon earlier. But no, Artemis was just in Final Fantasy V as one of the ultimate weapons. So it's just a reference to that Artemis, and not to what Artemis was clearly named after. But I get like in the same way that I'm just so used to Ifrit meaning big fire demon that I do forget that it just means genie, and it's sort of weird that they've gone, nah, it's what we say it is now. Okay, I'm just trying to go up there. Well, you know, Shiva and all that. Anyway, that's been my weekend. Welcome back, Honoured Scion. Who knew of your mission to be, have been most anxious... What? We who knew of your mission have been most anxious to see you return. The Elder Seed Seer awaits you with it. Okay. Oh, fair enough. Oh, the hunting horn, yes. That's cool. I'd have to see that. Apart from every time I've seen footage of Monster Hunter, I've just been like, there's so much stuff going on, I have no idea. Which is what actually Scream says when looking at this, but I'm just used to what MMOs mean. What else was I going to say? That's gone. It might come back. Oh, yes. Canny is the worst character in this game because, as I said before, there's no worse character trait than just being dutiful. It's incredibly boring.
You are returned to us, dear friend, and none the worse for bearing the heavy burden which I did press upon you. Most glad am I of this.
That's why elves are a bit boring in games as well, like in media as well.
I am informed that your efforts to negotiate a peace with Lord Ramuh ended in conflict. Pray tell me, what befell?
Yeah.
Ramuh made trial of you?
I mean, one of the other leaders is a pirate lady, and the whole point of the entire storyline is the nation was founded by pirates, and they're gonna defend themselves from shit, and like, but they have a thieves guild, but they just sort of let them exist because the thieves guild are just goodies. But like, there's something there at the very least.
I fear there is truth to his claim. It is the darkness within us that attracts the darkness without.
And in the Gold Nation, they have the Sultana, which is one of those tiny people that you can see on the left of the screen, and she sits on the shoulder of the general. But the whole point is, she's like in political turmoil because it's the rich nation. Like, there's something going on in that nation. It's just that this one's a bit boring because it's elves.
It cannot be denied that misfortune follows man. For evidence, one need only look to the conflict brewing in Cartano, or to the rising flood of refugees.
It's not as bad in this as it is in Tales of Berseria, because I don't have to see Canny Senna basically ever. But in Tales of Berseria, one of your teammates is the dutiful one, but she's also like supposed to be an anime girl. And like they're clearly just angling it in such a way to make her like appealable in certain ways, and I just hate her so much.
Our shared struggle against the Empire should have served to seal our union. Yet the ties which bind the Alliance strain under the weight of gross self-interest.
Case in point, the Star Wars game they're remaking, Knights of the Old Republic 2. You fight loads of Sith Lords. But one of the Sith Lords is actually a Jedi Master who doesn't realise that she's turned into a fascist. She wears all white, and because you don't fit the exact ideal of what she thinks a Jedi should be, she ends up attacking you, despite the fact that you're the goodie. And that's an excellent portrayal of that idea. Although it's slightly different. She also doesn't talk like this constantly.
As the scars of the calamity begin to fade, so too does our sense of common purpose.
Also, everyone's doing a British accent, but they all get revealed as soon as they say a word like calamity, where they forget that like you either have to pronounce those T's or you've got to go jump. You need to leave a turn of gap there and leave it as calamity, which nobody's going to do because nobody wants to have that particular accent in their game. But you can't have calamity.
Yet
And they're quite...
now is scarce the time to forget our shared responsibility. If this new-sprung realm is to survive beyond its infancy, it must needs be nurtured by all.
Sometimes they do it, and sometimes they don't.
Eorzea must be as one. Yet I fear that dream is still far off. On behalf of the people of Gridania and the elementals both, I thank you for all that you and your fellow scions have done. Full oft have I been compelled to look to you for aid of late, and offered all too little in return. As leader of this nation, I shall endeavor to prove a more worthy ally to your cause henceforth.
If we listen long enough, she'll say it correctly as well. If it's like a canon word, they'll have a pronunciation guide. It's when they have to say something by themselves that they accidentally make a mistake. It's fine, I'm not complaining, but I'm going to notice every single time.
Ramu has departed, yet the keening of this ill wind grows no less insistent.
Ramu, you say, and you might be thinking, oh, that's an Egyptian. No, Ramu is an electric dude in this universe. The Lord of Leven, which is apparently a word that means
of the forest,
thunder and lightning.
Pray speak, and I shall listen. What unseen evil begets this unease in my heart?
Got a great big bushy beard, which like is literally like as tall as one of those trees. His beard is actually a really big beard. Papalimo has the voice of every single uppity wizard, and I love it. Thus ends another daunting mission. I did it wrong. It's early. It's early. I'd hoped Lord Ramu could be persuaded with words alone, but nonetheless, alright, I can't go to it right now. I can only admire the adroitness of which you responded to the primal sudden challenge, and it seems that Eorzea too was pleased with the outcome. What say you, Naif? Shall we gather back at the Rising Stones and ponder the lessons of the day? Yeah, sure. The most fun I've been having this game is the way this game works. Sorry, if anyone ever watches this footage back, I've explained this loads, but like, just skip over it, it's fine. Like all MMOs, right? You release a big game, give us money for the big game, and you play for the big game, and then they release a series of free updates that force you to come back to the game. And in this game, each of the free updates is an entire arc, and you put all those arcs together, and they're as long as the original campaign, and then they drop a new one that you have to buy. So right now, I'm in like the third little mini update. But the reason I make a big point of explaining this is that it's tonally wildly different from the original game. The original game might as well have been Dragon Ball Z. I was fighting an evil empire. There's like a speech where it's like, you shall take command from the gods and with our fuck-off tank, and I'm going to take off the world, with sort of vaguely fashy ideas. And you're like, you have the power of light within you, and it's, you've got blah, blah, blah. And that's the tone of the original levels. I had to have a cutscene during one of these updates where we spent 10 minutes talking about refugee crisis, and it's really well written, and it's like one of the writers is really fond of Game of Thrones, and one of the writers is really and the writers don't talk to each other. Like, there's obviously a canon they keep as well, but like tonally it's just so absurdly different. Like, and the thing is, they've seeded it as well. The refugee thing was always in the game. There's a place called Little Alamigo, and it's literally just a country that's only a town because they're the only survivors. But yes. Oh yes. This is Balthazar. Balthazar fights for me. But yeah, like the literal plot is they're introducing a new race, and so the new race, they're from Doma, which in Final Fantasy VI is a country that gets killed by the Empire. So in this country it's the same, but they're lizard people, and we give them a little home here. But they ask for refuge first. But like the capital city already has an outer like walls. They already have refugees. They have to turn them down. But one of the cities doesn't have. The Sultana has a guild of leaders, and they're all capitalists. They're called the monetarists. And one of them has been secretly... one of them's very obviously evil. And he talks. He's got a goatee. They're all little people as well, but they've got an evil goatee. And he's like, well, if you let one of them in, you'll have to let all of them in. And there's one of them that's nice. But it turns out it's the quote-unquote nice one that's been secretly giving weapons to the refugees. So they attack and they'll fail. And he's trying to, like... It's quite a complex plot, to be honest, because he just wants to buy a plot of land, and it's like, it's quite well written political satire, in this world of stupid Dragon Ball Z nonsense. So he's deliberately trying to sow the seeds of, but he's playing all the sides. It's really nice. I was going to say, in General Radahn, yes, he does something I love, because you wouldn't get this out of any other fiction. General Radahn, at some point, realizes who one of the villains is, and just straight up fucking murders him. He goes, you what? And just kills him. And I was like, yes! It's like one of the best things, because it's like, in any other series, they would just like go... there's nothing we can do. He's like a political leader, and there's nothing. No, he just goes, I don't know. You fucking did this, and just because like throughout the game, I was like, why do they even call you the Mad Bull? You're not particular. Oh, no, it turns out he is. It's an appropriate name. Now, it turns out that's a stupid thing for him to do because there's two evil people, and it's the one that was being nice that's the real mastermind. And it turns out killing one of the leaders of the nation puts you in jail. Like, there are consequences, but it's a really nice moment where, like, somebody identifies a villain and just goes, you know what, fuck it, that guy. Like, yes, yeah, it is. I'm hoping to get to that scene today. The only bad thing is, at the end of it, they identify who the true villains are all along. And it turns out it's the General's best friend, because the General also comes from Little Alamigo, and there's like a little coterie of people who've been all working together, and it's all really well set up. Like, you work for a smug elf who throughout the entire game has set up all the good wins, and in this game just has been like utterly played. Like, we set up a personal army essentially. We're in a new location because our secret society of the Avengers, like, we used to be sitting in a city, and it's like, well, we don't actually belong to the cities. We're supposed to save everyone, but we don't have an army, so we make one out of the heroes from the game we've met before, or villains. There's just a lovely moment of us visiting previous quest people and going, hey, do you want to join our little mini army? And that mini army betrays us because we hired a bunch of villains. Like, at one point we hired this guy who was sent to prison because, like, he was working for the Empire because he wanted money, and so we find him again. He served his time, and he betrays us. And it's like, of course he fucking did. Like, he didn't even have a family. Like, were you not paying attention? But it's all really good writing, and I only mention this because as soon as the next expansion comes out, they just throw it all away. They go like, all right, there's a new plot now, so we love your little story, but they all stand there and you kill them all and it's all dealt with. I'm like, why can't you writers talk to each other? Why did you set this all up? So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm really curious if they keep doing it like that, where it's like, my brother used to have an RPG campaign with a friend of his, and every time they switched who ran it, they kind of worked like that as well. It's kind of fascinating. And the other guy would just undo everything Adam did, because he's like, you're not setting up a weird dwarf space station in my fantasy world. That, like, no. It's like Adam's like, I just want to try weird ideas. And the other guy's like, no, this is as a world, and it's... yeah. Welcome back, Naive. Word of your momentous encounter with Lord Gramu precedes you. I would fain share news of mine own, but Eorzea discoveries must take precedence. Upon witnessing your defeat of the Lord of Leven, our learned companion was struck with a profound insight regarding the nature of the Asians' immortality. I'm not being funny, that's how it's pronounced. It's not Asians, they're called the Asians, and they're the villains. They're weird ghost people. Anyway, let us assemble and discuss his observations together. These are the Avengers. Oh, they're called the Scions, or the Seventh.
If everyone is ready, let us begin. Eorzea, the floor is yours.
As all here assembled now know, in its final hours as our Order's headquarters, the Waking Sands did play host to a most unexpected visitor. I speak of the Asian clad in white, Elidibus. Unwelcome though his presence was, his words that day did serve to confirm a truth long suspected, that the Asians are eternal beings, to whom physical destruction is as a temporary inconvenience.
In the intervening time, Eorzea and I have striven to discover a means by which the Asians might more permanently be slain.
Skava. Sorry, I was just reminded of how the snake person gets together.
And 'tis my belief that we have found the thread that will allow us to unravel the twisted skein of their existence. In the moments prior to Leviathan's most recent manifestation, the Sahagin elder who summoned him was observed to undergo some manner of ascension. The etheric readings taken by Y'shtola at the time of this transfiguration have proven most enlightening.
Is that Y'shtola? I thought it was Y'shtola.
The disruption to the flow of ether was sudden and dramatic. So tangible was the agitation, I scarce had need of my goggles.
The significance of Y'shtola's readings might better be understood in the context of mine own, taken at the instant of the Lord of Leven's demise. Unlike the Primal, the Sahagin was not subject to etheric dissipation.
Before discussing our new discoveries, it may benefit us all to recall what we know of etheric behavior.
Also, I've said this before, but I hate Minfilia's costume. Literally everyone else in this game, you can sort of go, yeah, okay, it sort of fits a weird fantasy of the world. And no, I just hate that costume so much. Not only is it a weird mix between, like, modern and fantastical, it's just absurdly impractical in a way that just annoys me a lot.
Let us begin at what some might call the end. When we who dwell in the material realm die, our spirits dissolve into the flow of ether and are returned to the ethereal realm. In turn, the restless energy which suffuses that plane streams back into our world, giving rise to new life.
Oh, it's the live stream from Final Fantasy VII, got it.
'Tis as the heavens did decree, the way of all mortal souls.
We're gonna take things from all the games. Everyone
Twixt
takes
this
the live stream.
world and the next do the ethereal currents swirl, bearing the very essence of life. Thus doth the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth continue unabated.
So this scene is literally in Final Fantasy VII as well, but you're in a hollow room when it happens. Rather than, I don't know, our imagination?
Primals behave somewhat differently. In order to manifest and then maintain a physical presence in this realm, they must consume vast quantities of ether, most often in the form of crystals. Though they may seem to live, their flesh is but ether given shape. Thus, a defeated primal leaves behind no broken corpse. Rather, The essence of its form seeps back into the land whence it came, and the energy of its shattered spirit is called back to the ethereal realm.
And there it waiteth, till next the prayers of the faithful do draw it forth from the sea of ether, to take their offering of crystals and make for itself a new body.
So, there are two races in this game, even though there are loads. There is man, the people that have cities and shit, and there are the beast tribes. And each beast tribe has I forgot what they're called now. The summons that they summon. But the problem with summoning them is you're enthralled to them and you lose any sense of will. It just seems like a bad idea, but they always need to defend themselves, so they always summon them. And every time you summon them, they're always stronger.
Which brings us on to the third group, the so-called immortals. They exist in a manner all their own.
This is what I mean by Dragon Ball Z, by the way. Like, we've gone back to the original plot rather than the politics plot, because they're trying to do a lot with these updates. But, like, the Ascians aren't the humans. They're cloaks-wearing humans.
Quite. Even as the Sahagin Elder fell to the Admiral's musket shot, I witnessed the release of an ethereal cloud, which immediately took possession of a nearby minion.
I also think it's incredibly funny that an RPG is, like, having to use diagrams to explain the plot.
A soul that dissipateth not upon the death of the flesh.
The secret of life everlasting, and in the claws of a Sahagin no less. But I wonder, what would happen to one of these obstinate spirits, should there be no suitable host for it to claim?
Sorry, I keep saying Dragon Ball Z. What I should say is Kingdom Hearts, isn't it? Shouldn't I?
If mortal death entails a return to the ethereal realm, it seems doubtful that the soul of an immortal would venture there.
Nay, it merely withdraweth the distance, unto the shore of the ethereal sea, perchance, but no further.
Yes, it exists in neither this realm nor the next, abiding instead in the space that lies between them. The Ascians took control of Thancred by means of a crystal of darkness, an artifact which, if our theories are correct, serves as a gateway to the place I have just described.
I was hoping people had forgotten about that.
So yeah, when we fought the main villain, it was actually Thancred, because they'd taken over him.
I am sorry, my friend.
Because of course, there are 4 villains in every single Final Fantasy, and in this game that means there are 4 villains in every expansion pack. And one of them must be a secret one.
For a mercy, the weary road of our research hath brought us unto an answer.
The Sahagin ascended to an immortal state, but he did not possess a crystal of darkness through which to flee this realm. Thus was he consumed by Leviathan. If we could entrap the spirits of defeated Ascians in like manner, and thereby deny them resurrection...
The camera work in this game has been really good.
Therein lieth the path to victory.
Like some of these
Thou
assets...
art most perceptive, my lady.
So some of these assets are literally from PlayStation 2. Like, I'm sure the later I get into the game, the more impressive the assets will get. And I'm playing on a PlayStation 5, so the resolution's through the roof. So you'll get, like, models where there'll be, like, smooth models, but you'll be able to see the pixeling of the like, design of their clothes. But, like, the actual camera work is like, there's been, like, little zoom-ins for shocks and the not Jurassic Park, the Jaws effect, but they actually cheated and they just had the person stay still while the they did a thing. It was clever. They didn't need to warp like they would normally. Anyway, because not an actual human, so you can character.
Only when we have trapped the bodiless soul within an ethereal prison can we hope to defeat its unnatural constancy. Thus,
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
These feats are, of course, far easier said than done. At present, we lack a viable means to entrap and extinguish an Ascian soul. Yet, I believe it to be possible. The pieces of the puzzle lie before us. We have but to put them together.
Also, O's, but the way she said possible,
I will depart at once to convene with the sages of Sharlayan. Together shall we divine the steps by which our goals may be achieved.
I was about to say, Eorzea, who was Balthu in Final Fantasy XII, like, he does a better job than other people, which is probably why they gave him all the old dialogue, but he clearly makes mistakes as well. And he's not like a big voice actor. I think he's in like one episode of the two brothers, I've forgotten what it's called. It's like a series about two brothers fighting demons. It was quite popular. There were like 8 series of it, and I think he was a minor villain in that once, and that's it. That's his claim to fame, and then it just goes into voice acting.
I have the utmost faith in you, Archon.
It's got a long name.
Beg pardon, antecedent, but I would raise one final matter. Even now, a Sharlayan survey party seeketh to ascertain the fate of the students of Baldessian.
Sure, it's pronounced antecedent.
Their findings shall soon be known to us. Though you harbor feelings of dread, I bid you surrender not to sorrow, but abide instead in hopeful prayer.
When we get to the expansion pack, they're going to ruthlessly change all the voice actors as well. They don't give a fuck.
I shall, Archon. Thank you.
I guess they weren't. They didn't know how long the game would last. They didn't hire them. Yeah, so we're back in Kingdom Hearts logic right now. And we must go in a big circle, and it's gonna look awesome. Lord of Leven has returned to the ether as Leviathan was before him. Ramuh's acquiescence was most intriguing. I love their names. Phono, Vortex, Crag, Whirl, and Leven. All have been humbled by the Bringer of Light. It's me, I did that, I humbled them. Ultimate? You can't be called Ultimate, that's the limitless potential of man. Hydaelyn's servant grows mightier by the day. Hydaelyn's a big crystal. Think the Force. That's what Hydaelyn is, effectively. Apart from Hydaelyn speaks occasionally. Yet she prospers at a great cost to her mistress, whose strength, why do you get to wear a white robe, is all too finite. 7 times have the masses survived the rejoining. The souls are grown weaker and wane. Yet even as it enervates, the Ardor empowers our master. All that remains is to nurture the strength of the gifted to forge the final... Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is totally different than the politics, because it's obviously to set up a sequel. What am I thinking? The other writer. And that is the task which we bend our every effort. Divine seeds were ever wont to quicken in Eorzea's fertile soil. We need only lead men into the field. By their eager hands shall a new deity rise. So these guys, they want to summon their god, Zodiac, who is a summon in Final Fantasy VIII. But they also all have little like ambitions of their own. They do fight each other. I also loved how somebody went, we want cloaks, but we want them to be metal. How do we make metal? We'll add little spiky bits. That which was shattered shall be made anew. The one true God shall come again. Quest complete. Alright. Gonna try and play this a little bit faster, but I've had fun explaining shit. Guardians of Eorzea. Now the matter of Ramu has for the present been put to rest, there is something I would show you, Naive. It is a letter of thanks signed by the leader of the Eorzean Alliance, acknowledging the Scion's tireless service to the realm. Mentions in particular the names of all the defeated primals: Ifrit, Titan, Garuda, Good King Moggle the 12th, Leviathan, and now Ramu. Okay, so Ramu basically said, look, I don't. All the other ones were kind of monsters that just want to like cause destruction, whereas Ramu was like, I will test you, but we still had to kill him as a part of his test. And Good King Moggle wasn't even a primal. It's just that if you pray enough, that you can actually make gods exist from nowhere. And turns out the Muggles had a god. I love Good King Moggle so much, and it also says it sets up the idea that primals can be invented from old cloth. They don't have to be ancient at all. Needless. Also, they clearly just wanted to justify the existence of Good King Moggle. No, actually, what am I talking about? It sets up Shiva. Needless to say, there was one among our number that's faced them all. Those words of gratitude were addressed to our orders as a whole. I feel that were meant for you above all others. I, too, must offer my heartfelt thanks for all that you've done in the course of your duties. You've never once failed to answer my call to arms. You are a true hero, and I have an Eorzea is much safer for your presence. But do not misunderstand me. I said safer, not safe. Angry bunny face for a brief second there. I know only too well that I can ill afford to lower the guard. The Ascians, my cup of tea is going to be cold, isn't it? Maybe, yes it is. Maybe relied upon to sow chaos in the realm until such time they are forced to stop. Why, even without their own encouragement, you may be assured that man would foment strife on his own, and that there is nothing to say to the beast tribes unless we live in harmony, and primals too will return to plague us again and again and again. And yet, despite all this, your deeds serve to inspire the people, to give them hope for a better tomorrow. There is no better gift. We have the courage to strive for what might otherwise seem to be an impossible peace. We owe no small part to your dangers you have faced on our behalf. Oh, fucking hell, game. The people... Yeah, I got it. I did well. Of the sylphs of Little Solace, wish not of conflict. Of Asili, strives to unearth the terrible secrets of the calamity. And there is Sid and the Fellowship of Noah, racing to unlock the mysteries of the ancient Alag, that we might be spared the horror of another ultimate weapon. Fortunately, I've already done that, but there's a big tower and it has all the bosses of Final Fantasy III, because some bright spark noticed that one of the random monsters in Final Fantasy III was called a clone, and that was like, they've got cloning technology, they can all be brought back. And so that was the plot. It was going to so now there's a weird implication that Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy I, Final Fantasy V all exist in the past. Final Fantasy 14. We must not forget that those closest to us, by which I mean our fellow Scions, thanks to their many varied talents, our order is uniquely equipped to combat the far-reaching corruption of the Ascians. Combat it shall. Although you have to kind of weird the stories for that to make any sense. Your enthusiasm is a heartwarming antecedent. Oh god, if they had time travel, that would be insane. Or chaos. They have to ignore Final Fantasy 1, surely. Given our embarrassing welfare of allies, I trust it will not inconvenience you unduly if I absent myself for a time. Damn it, I want a hot cup of tea. Yeah, a hot cup of tea, it looks a bit gross. I should have used more care when making it. Alpha, no, I take it the troubles in Uldav no longer require your attention. There are some rumblings of discontent. It's easy to act Alpha, no, just be as smug as possible. But the air of simmering violence is largely dissipated. It is to port such that I stand before you now. That, and so to speak with you concerning a new organization we discussed. Ah, I have a message from you, from LA. Ahem, you recall the refugee girl, the one whose parents were missing. They were found unharmed. She wished me to pass on her thanks to you. Why, Arthano, I'm not going to do the voices, I can't bother right now. I understand you made an effort to remember the poor girl's name. I look forward to reading all about her in your report. I do hope you left nothing out. Nev, you have been away from Revenant Sol for some time now. I believe might I suggest you put the affairs of the realm to one side for a moment to take this opportunity to reacquaint yourself with the town. Which reminds me, one of the Doman children recently inquired as to your whereabouts. Yozen was his name. I believe he has some small matter he wishes to share with you. Why not oblige him a visit? Fun. Oh, the best thing about being a bunny rabbit lady is that every time I get a phone call, she has to put her hand up to her rabbit ear rather than where her ear would be. And yeah, like, obviously you would have to, but it's still really funny every time it happens. I love it. And you may notice they make sure the hair covers where human ears would be, and that's true for all the cat people as well. You don't want to think about their ear, like where human ears would be, because then you go like, oh god, that's actually weird that there's just nothing there, isn't there? Oh god. But yes, look, this one's got a hat on. My one doesn't have a hat. Well, my one does have. It's got a helmet, but not a hat. I was a hat. I kind of want to. Oh, also. They fly now. They don't look like they could fly, but they totally can. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have teleported. So, Final Fantasy, when they introduced flying into the game, and somebody had to have a conversation, which was like, okay, how do we do flying mounts? And some bright spark went, all mounts can fly. Just, if you've got a car, fuck it, it's a flying car now. Which is a great way of doing that, rather than like forcing you to find a dragon. They'll give you a dragon if you want, but like, your chocobo can fly as well. It's a bird after all. Look, it's Miss Naive. She's back from her adventures. We heard you're all fighting primals, and that they're some of the strongest enemies you could ever face. I wish I could have seen you in battle. Anyway, we want to be heroes too, so we formed our very own Domain Adventurers Guild to protect all the Domans. So, at level 20, I think it's about level 20, they say, oh, you know you can go on dungeons. You have to you take 4 of you into a dungeon, and you go fight stuff in a dungeon. And they do this by introducing some other dungeoneers, like, about to go into a dungeon, when you're just starting out. They're, like, all happy, you kind of look over in the pub, and the pub lady landlord was like, yes, maybe one day. At like level 30, that group has disbanded. One of them is dead, and the others blame the third one. And it's like, and she's like, well, not all stories end well. And it's like, that's quite a lot of commitment to being a little bit gritty. But it's like, it's funny to contrast that scene with this one where a bunch of children are like, we're gonna become adventurers. Anyway. So we finally formed our own Domain Adventures Guild. Protect all the Domans. Also, because I did accidentally watch Sword Art Online, that was the best bit of Sword Art Online. I stopped watching it because it's awful. But there is one episode where the Black Swordsman joins another group and they all die. And that's quite a good story. Anything that doesn't involve the main character basically probably work quite well. I have not watched past Series 1, and I will never watch past Series 1. I had a friend that kept telling me it was going to get better, then it turned out that he was deliberately doing that to see how far he could get me to watch it. Do you think you could train us today, Miss Naive? Maybe you could show us how you fought the primals. What's all this commotion? I knew Sword Art was going to be bad in Episode 1. So they have one good idea in Episode 1, which is because it's a computer game, there are animations. You don't just swing a sword. Your sword follows the animation. You just sort of lean into it. And one character teaches that. And then we never see that concept ever again. That's just set dressing. Nothing in Sword Art Online matters at all. Or, here's another example. Turns out, like, all the characters have avatars. Everyone picks an avatar. And when the grand villain says you're all trapped in Sword Art Online, they turn into their real selves. And what they do with that concept is they poke fun at a couple of people. And then they say, but the main character's really attractive anyway. And then they do nothing else with that concept. For example, and this is all from like the first episode, there's a mysterious girl and she's wearing a mysterious hood, so you can't see her face. And then at the climax, this might be episode 2, when they defeat the villain, the cloak falls off, revealing it's somebody we've never met before. It's just a girl. And we never see that cloak again. So she wore that cloak just for it to dramatically fall off to reveal her face. But this was in an episode where they were getting the coat. He's called the Black Swordsman because he has a high-level coat on. The entire episode was about the importance of items, and they had a cloak that served no purpose but other than to have it. Anyway, like, it's quite obvious Sword Art is awful very quickly if you're paying attention. What's all this commotion then? It's not like Sherlock Holmes where you're like, okay, it's promising a bunch of stuff. Like, no, it breaks promises immediately. Mr. Boulder and Mr. Miqo'te, do you know that Miss Naive is back? Yeah. And I get that. I think One Piece does that at one point as well, with a dude which wears a mask and he just never wears it again. But I forgive One Piece because One Piece does a lot of good things. So it would seem. Welcome home, Naive. My companion and I but recently became full members of the Science. Actually, that guy's wearing a mask because he's a villain with a mask on, and as soon as he doesn't have a mask, he's a goodie. I.e., they didn't want you to like him, so they initially put him in a mask. It's still mysterious, but there's a slightly more reason. Anyway, One Piece is kind of clever with masks. Welcome. The proper introduction to be made. I'm known as Hoary Boulder. This bookish fellow is Miqo'te. Though we remain largely unproven as adventurers, taking it upon ourselves to instruct determined younglings in the art of combat. I told you, Mr. Boulder, we're not younglings anymore. We are adventurers. And we were just asking Miss Naive if she could give us some special training. I think we're ready to hunt monsters alongside her, don't you? Certainly been diligent in your drills, but I'm afraid the fiends of Mordona are ever so slightly too dangerous for you. Yes, yeah. I have a counter proposal. What if I were to cross swords with Naive, a demonstration of skill at arms, if you will? So yeah, all of the giants, I think, so there's, because of the way Final Fantasy works, every single race has 2 examples. I mean, there's always like 2 sub-races. So the giants there, they're either pirates, because they come, and the pirates just have names that have a lot of Y's in, or they're the other type that have names that are always like, I think they choose them in the same way as well, I chose the word naive, so it's pronounced the way I said. It's not from anything. I made it up. Yes, I appreciate that the spelling might not actually give that correct pronunciation. Ori, if I didn't know you any better. So yeah, all the large folk have names like, I guess, like the sort of Native American type thing, like the running bull type. If I didn't know you any better, and I do, I'd say you were merely seeking to test yourself against a legend. Well, mayhaps I am, but what matters if the motives when the children stand to learn so much from the lesson? What say you? Naive? It might be Naive. But yes, it could be Neve. would you consent to spar with me? Confident bunny nod. Huzzah! We have a tournament. Come on, everyone. We must prepare our gear for an outing. So, all my character names... Yeah, that makes sense. All my character names are 4 letters, 8 letters, because that's my name. John Steppens is 4 letters, 8 letters. So it's Naev, Ulterion. I enjoy how the show makes a show of the pronunciation. Like, there's literally a bit in the show of, this is how the name's pronounced. Do not try to disappoint them, Have faith, Coultonay. I shall summon every last ounce of my strength to make a worthy contest. There is a France in this game. It's where the medieval people come from. And we're going there in the expansion. It's actually one of the better bits. Fields to the east of the town should prove suitable for our purposes. I very much look forward to our bout. Like, it gets very medieval in one part of the world, and it's like, oh, we're in France. Okay. Oh, I see. Fair enough. There we go. Yeah, Naev Ulterion. It's because I've got so many characters on this account, I had to start coming up with new names. Otherwise, I would have gone with Inky. Hyperion, I think it is. I would have to check. Oh, fine. I'll go out the door. Yes, thank you. I put a lot of effort into trying to blend, like, actually have something that fits with the world. Also, I think I was saying the screams, because sometimes a bit judgmental, because you'll be in the middle of like a dungeon and somebody will be wearing a bikini. Although there are dancers in the game, so I did accidentally be like, okay, no, they're literally dancers. That's their costume. But like, no, sometimes people are just like, no. But it's fine. Each their own. You can dress the way you want in the game. It's fine. But what was I going to say? But yeah, I wanted it to suit the world. Oh no! What I was going to say was, in the dungeon there was a character called Tax Evader, and I was like, that doesn't suit anyone at all. But I do think it's a very funny name. And I'll let you have that very funny name. And it wasn't one of the giants. Which would have made it much funnier, but... because then it would have been in character. But, although I think I'm the only person who thinks, oh yeah, that would have been in character. That would have been much funnier. But, good of you to agree, Naev. Trust you're ready to begin. Scam likely, yeah. Very well, let us not keep the younglings waiting any longer. Ahem. Hori, are you certain you wish to fight her alone? This is Naev, your face. I think I decided on the pronunciation, and then I tried typing it out, and I was like, no, I want it to look like this, because I think it looks better. What better way to test my mettle? Pray allow me to attempt the first round unaided. After all, 'twas this hero's legend that led me to join the Scions to begin with. Well, Naev, because like there is a character called Nael. Is it Nael actually? Inspires my. I'd have to see how they pronounce it. My character's got the same, but spelt the same way. Nael. He's one of the villains, apparently. I just didn't know that. To inspire my efforts, I would not be half the warrior I am today. Your point is well made. But remember, this is for the children's sake as well as your own. Should it appear the contest will end too swiftly, I will add my spells to your blade work. Hello, you haven't begun yet, have you? Ida! What? Who are all these people? When I heard you about your sparring match, I told everyone I could. I thought you could use a crowd to cheer you on. The one thing this game does do, which is kind of annoying, is they do pile on how good you are. Everyone loves you. You're amazing. You're the best person ever. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to be doing it constantly in the game. Like, if you do the, if you build stuff, there's one person who doesn't like you, and then as soon as the scene ends, a character runs up to you and goes, "Oh, they secretly like you, but they can't say it because they've got to keep their rough and tumble exterior." It's like, not everyone has to like me. It's fine. No, still more to come. I get that, you know, these are power fantasies and therefore people will need constant pats on the back, but like, you do. It has satire in it. You don't have to always be doing, you know, the same thing. When I mentioned I have Dave, the reaction of my own popularity, it seems sickly shade in comparison. You best claim victory, bring over light. Your burgeoning reputation is at stake. Well, our teacher won't be beaten so easily. He's a master swordsman. I mean, this scene serves a purpose. They're setting up 2 new characters, basically, who are going to be important for a bit of story. You can win, Mr. Boulder. We shall soon see you soon. On your guard. I think he's already lost. Bunny hop. Oh no, he looks hurt. He's not even so strong. You can't give up, Mr. Boulder. Can't disappoint the younglings. Oh, he's back! There's one, I guess, rhetorical device One Piece uses, which I really enjoy, which is they acknowledge, like, Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, is so strong, like he's won all the battles, that sometimes it's fun to side with the other person because Monkey's so absurdly strong. So you will occasionally get battles where the other person's clearly a villain, but like because he's struggling so much against Monkey, the series will write it in such a way that they want you to cheer on the other person, and it's really like I really enjoy that writing. And like it turns out that guy wasn't really evil at all, but like. They sort of were. I don't know how I feel about that particular series because like they use Monkey has to go into a prison to rescue his brother, and they're like, okay, we're going to use 2 metaphors here, right? There are 7 levels of the prison because of the 7 levels of hell, and like the torture gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and also we're going to all blatantly be wearing Nazi uniforms, and like so like when you're fighting them, like it makes sense that they're villains, but it turns out they're not really villains. But they are! The fuck are you talking about, series? Why are they torturing people in that prison? It's an awful prison. I know that One Piece people have magical powers. It still doesn't justify putting people in a lava zone and as ice. What the heck? None of these people are redeemable. Anyway, I've heard that, but you know, final arc could mean anything between like 50 to 250 episodes, and I'm only like halfway through One Piece. Though I guess I have to catch up because there might be spoilers. Anyway, I've bested these 2. Gasp! That was incredible! She beat them both at the same time! Ha ha! You knew you couldn't lose, Naive. None can defeat the Guardian of Eorzea. Now I see why they sent you to deal with the primals. I've much work to do, even if I'm ever to attempt the same. So the One Piece version I watch right now is people cut it down. So it's only like the canonical manga bits and none of the fluff added to the anime. Because about halfway through they started adding a lot of fluff. Mainly because they don't want to pass the manga. Impressive as always, Naive. It is a pleasure to witness the spectacle of your martial prowess. And judging by the smiles on these many faces, they too appreciate the hard-won strength that keeps the perils of the realm at bay. Guardians of Eorzea. Yes, that is a most fitting title. Do you recall when we first met? 'Twas at the memorial service for the Battle of Carteneau. I may have said this ages ago. So, you can't play the original Final Fantasy XIV. It was so bad, they had to shut the realm down. They hit the entire realm with Moon. And they rebuilt the game again. Realm Reborn is set after the event. So, canonically, a meteor hits the planet and everyone has their memories wiped. And when Realm Reborn starts, they literally say, oh yeah, something weird happened with our memories. We don't remember the Warriors of Light. We don't know what exactly happened at the Battle of Carteneau. When I say a moon, turns out that was a planet and it had a dragon inside. Anyway, so, canonically, I may or may not have been at that battle, depending on whether you can... they can detect whether you had the original version of the game. So my brother was at the Battle of Carteneau. And some of the cutscenes I'd slightly adjusted to say, oh yeah, you were there all along. You've always been a hero. But yeah, it's just funny for that. They canonically went, fuck it, we're throwing this away and starting again. But all the events still happened, but you can never see them again. At the time I was attempting to understand this land of Eorzea, I sought to grasp the reason my grandfather willingly sacrificed himself to protect it. I shall speak plainly. My initial impressions were less than favourable. Dire problems abounded, and yet the effort I saw expended towards their solution was haphazard and half-hearted. I thought Eorzeans a foolish and childish people. Considering the shambles their home was in, I would not have been surprised if I had chosen to swear allegiance to Gaius, the order he proposed to enforce. Legatus' single-minded military invasion precluded any such switching of loyalties, though. Were it not for a desire to continue his grandfather's legacy, I would have abandoned the realm to its fate long ago. The threats were too many. Nations too self-involved and unstable. 'Twas you who convinced me the salvation of Eorzea was possible. So yeah, this particular plot, it's doing it quite well, is that this guy is in over his head and he doesn't realise it yet. He's talking about leaving the realm, but all he's done is just sort of point me at stuff, and I've solved problems for him. And as soon as that stops working, he's gonna be experience a rude awakening. And I just sort of love that somebody's identified, you know what, he's a little bit smug, isn't he? We're going to use that against him. 'Twas you who taught me countless acts. He genuinely does mean well, but he just has a blind spot. And his blind spot that he doesn't realise that he can fail. Through countless acts of bravery, that what my grandsire sought to preserve was not the land, nor its history, nor any single nation. My happy bunny. It was the people, these wonderful, oft infuriating, stubborn people that suffer blow after terrible blow, only to drag themselves back to their feet, face another day. Though he never put such feelings into words, I believe grandfather's admiration for this inextinguishable courage grew into a fervent wish, a wish to aid Eorzea and its inhabitants in charting a course into the future. A wish that has become my own. I too will endeavour to take up the mantle of the Guardian of Eorzea, and champion these people toil towards a better world. Our cause, however, is not a simple one. The troubles that plague us, I'm going to cut the voice, are of a scale that cannot be solved by the sounds of the Seventh Dawn alone. No, what is needed to tackle the root of the primal threat and effectively counter the schemes of the Ascians is a new, expanded organisation that operates beyond the limitations of nations and borders. If you would aid me in building such an organisation, then pray let us continue the discussion back within the walls of the Rising Stones. Ooh. Yeah, so this is the quest I was talking about before. It's like a little like, oh, now our plot is actually doing stuff. We're going to visit a load of the little mini plots we left behind and reintegrate some of the characters back into the story as a part of the Guardians of Eorzea. The galaxy. Come on. Do it for free. Oh, hang on. No, I don't want you. I want my new one. No. Yeah! Got myself a creepy eye. What's great about this creepy eye is that, so as I said before, Final Fantasy 1, all the monsters in Final Fantasy 1 are creatures from Dungeons and Dragons. And the only ones they keep, like, there's a couple of them that have misspellings, so the Sahagin, the Ochu, they keep them. They change them though, make them and Behemoth, of course, and they keep chimeras. But like Chimera isn't a Final Fantasy monster. But one monster they had to change in Final Fantasy 1 was a Beholder. You can't have a Beholder, so they changed it to a thing called an Evil Eye instead. And this is an Evil Eye. Sometimes they have lots of different names because, you know, you've got to palette swap your monster into 7 different monsters. And all those names are canon. I've forgotten what this particular creature's called. But it's an Evil Eye, it's a Beholder. Well, it's not a Beholder, they're definitely not allowed to ever use that name. Araman. One of the names to go with. Anyway. He's mine now and I love him. Not as much as my Chocobo though. What do I have in my bag? Oh, it's the Cascadeer. I don't know what a Cascadeer is. I apparently have a uniform. Thank you for coming, Naive. The world shifts and alters, and we, my friend, must ever be one step ahead of the chaos. What I propose is the formation of a new organisation, a group that shall pave the way for a truly united Eorzea. Yeah, sure. Tech skills. Quest complete. Putting the realm. Pray forgive me if I tread over old ground, but I would first speak of the grand plan. Since the advent of the 7th Astral Era, the leaders of the free nations have been deliberating over the accord that seeks to bring the disparate forces of Eorzea together into a single entity. A realm-wide grand company, if you will. So each country has their own military thing, and you can join them. So he's proposing his own one, separate from the 3 countries, because they're the Avengers, and you can't really have a state-sponsored Avengers, because that'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? They'd help one country more than another. Realm-wide, yes. Yet while the purpose of this hypothetical organisation is undisputed, the logistics is difficult. Probably, I don't know, I click about it accidentally. And the longer these discussions continue, the more I sense the impetus towards unification draining away. Thus have I been campaigning for the creation of what might be considered a trial company. It will be on such a small scale that we hope to eventually achieve, but it's capable of the same manner of unrestricted operation. According to the Scions, it is my hope that a successful utilisation of such force will lend momentum to the lagging deliberations. also being primarily a military outfit. So he wants his own army, and so this is the first, like, oh, you're sure it's such a good idea. I mean to assuage the fears of its misuse by placing fledgling organization under the authority of the antecedent. The Scions work tirelessly to protect the Eorzea and its people. But as you yourself have witnessed with the Refuge Revolt, there are limitations to what we can achieve. With this new company under the Scions' command, however, we will be capable of responding to the wider range of difficulties without straining our resources or overtaxing your formidable talents. The goal of my proposed organisation and those Scions are ultimately identical, a point conceded by all concerns. Before I move forward with establishing the precursor to the true border-spanning Grand Company, it is yet necessary that I visit 3 leaders and gain their official approval. Tiresome and time-consuming task, which is why I would ask you to do it. But not approve. Thank you. It is reassuring indeed to know that the Bringer of Light and her discerning eye will be selecting our future allies. Our first destination will be Limsa Lominsa. Let us rendezvous at the Bulwark Hall.